Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari.
I'm Stacy Moore.
And I'm Lexy.
Who wants to shout out? What movie are we overanalyzing this week?
Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
Excellent.
I think that's the whole title.
Fantabulous.
Oh, right now, shoot.
Emancipation of a one Harley Quinn or something.
A very long title.
Yeah.
Yes.
Birds
Okay.
of Prey for short.
Yeah.
Yes. So, directed by Kathy Yan and written by Christina Hodson, the movie stars Margot Robbie reprising her role as Harley Quinn from previous DCU movies. And it follows her as she joins forces with the Huntress, the Black Canary, and Super Cop Renee Montoya to save Cassandra Cain from Gotham City crime lord Black Mask, played by Ewan McGregor. Also features Rosie Perez and Journey Smollett and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the other Birds of Prey.
And there were three people.
I were three
first.
people for not getting the title right and losing Fantabulous. We go to Stacy first.
I found it delightfully ridiculous, or ridiculously delightful, whichever.
Both work. I like.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Lexy.
Yeah, overall I liked it. I think the last act fell flat for me, which unfortunately brought my overall rating of it down, but I still quite enjoyed it.
Okay, I liked it too. I mean, I suppose it depends on like how you categorize this movie. Was this like?
Shall we try?
Did we just miss, did they just show a potential Oscar nominee too early in the year? No. Right? Like, no.
I was thinking, this is not a classic, but I definitely enjoyed myself.
But for like a, as it were, Saturday afternoon action flick.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right.
And did anyone besides me used to watch Batman the Animated Series?
I did not.
No, I didn't either.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually my first exposure to anything DCU or Batman.
Okay.
And so I always just thought Harley Quinn was canon because that's where she originated from. I just thought, oh yeah, Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Well, Birds of Prey exists in the comic world too.
Sure.
So,
but in the past 10 or 15 years, apparently.
Yeah. And so they didn't do a great job with the DC universe. So I went with someone who's familiar with the comics, and there was some criticism of like, why did they put Renee Montoya in this movie? Like, she is a cop and she is a character, but she wasn't associated with this, as well as Cassandra Cain. But I
think maybe do they show up more in Gotham City Sirens later on, which is going to be a follow-up, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not...
As a movie or a TV show?
As a movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not...
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
It goes really deep.
Like, I don't know why I'm not one to question the artistic choices of including characters in the DC universe in this movie in a different way. Mm-hmm. I for sure... Well, there's so much to talk about here, actually.
There's a lot of people.
So I will say, though, since we're talking about the characters they included and blah, 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 number one, I think one of my favorite parts about this movie was Rosie Perez. And it was really nice to have an older woman included and not just have this all be about, young, pretty things,
She's a detective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like this grizzled old cop.
Yeah.
As a female.
Who shoots 80s lines and drinks scotch at her desk.
Has to hand in her badge. Oh, yeah. All the stuff that guys usually get to do.
Yeah. So I really appreciated, having an older woman character in the movie.
And an LGBT character.
It's funny. I think one of my issues with the movie was I didn't think that, maybe it's less about the character, but I think that the detective and Huntress were almost not needed in this movie, and so I think that there was extra time spent on them that I didn't think added that much to the story. It definitely connection of Rosie Perez's story with the broader message of women's relationships with men.
Right.
I thought too much time was spent on their characters, but I didn't feel like I got that much out of their appearances. That I really enjoyed seeing sort of the interactions of Black Canary, Harley Quinn, Cassandra Cain, and I thought those three characters were really strong, but then I didn't think that the detective and Huntress were as strong, and so I think their addition or sort of their side stories didn't need to be there, and then that if it had been cut from the movie and they weren't just not characters in the movie, then the movie would have been shorter. And because I also, when I was watching it, I was like, this feels a little long. And so I wasn't sure maybe if that could have been a way to like solve that problem of it feeling longer. But I guess I'm the odd one out here.
Well, no, so I feel the opposite, and I definitely felt like it dragged. Like, it was too long coming to the final, climax battle, whatever. But what I would have done differently was actually have had a lot less time of the Harley Quinn and her relationship with Doc, and then having all the kid time with Cassandra Cain. Like, it was called Birds of Prey, but they don't freaking team up until almost the end of the movie. And I was like, I would have liked to have seen more of them together and less of just Harley Quinn on her own.
And I think I kind of agree with that, strangely. Yeah, because definitely looking back at the trailer for the movie and sort of my anticipation going into it, I thought that there'd be much more of the team, the team of five earlier on. And I think because there wasn't the team of five earlier on, more Huntress than the detective, but I think that's why those two sort of joining at the end felt not as natural to me, because they weren't given as much time as like Harley Quinn, Black Canary, and Cassandra Cain. And so that's why I think it would have, based on how they did end up doing it, I think they could have focused on just the three, have the three at the end, and then, sort of leave the other two to the side.
I'll second you there. I could have used some more integration moving into that last sort of final showdown.
Yeah, because when they joined together at the end, it felt more forced to me because they had been...
It's like, quick, shove them in there.
Yeah. A little bit more campy than I would have hoped for what seemed to be like a group movie going into it.
What do you mean by campy? Because I loved the campiness of the movie in general. That was kind of fun.
Let me think of the scene after they have the big fight when they're in the food place restaurant where Harley's getting the margaritas, and it's like a repeat of the original scene. It seemed like that's like, oh, we're all best friends and we're really happy together, but I was thinking this doesn't feel natural to me. Which I guess is not the same thing as camp, but like that scene, I guess being more forced is the right word than campy.
Gotcha.
That like that scene in particular felt like very forced to me, and I was like, this feels a little cringe. I like the female bonding, but because
I think you just don't like margaritas.
That is definitely not true.
Because, like,
How dare
you just had an epic battle. Why wouldn't you want to go for margaritas?
That's exactly what you
How could that possibly be for?
No, it wasn't that. It was the dialogue between them. And I was like, these jokes are not landing for me. This, like, connection between them is not landing for me.
Got it. Yeah. I see your point there. I think it just should have... their coming together should have started earlier. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how you would have rewritten it. We could all have our preferences. I want to touch on the camp thing, though, because I think this is something about us possibly being a little, just a smidge older than Lexy.
Okay, let's see.
Just a tiny bit. Because we've gone through a lot of Batman iterations that have veered from very campy Jim Carrey, right, to like
Jack Nicholson,
super serious Christopher Nolan, and like
so serious
Zack Snyder, and come back around again. So like we've seen a lot of all the way back to kind of
Adam West.
Yeah, I want to say the original. Someone call me out if that's not correct. That's like the sort of first popular culture Batman on.
It's the first one I know of.
Film that I know of. Yeah, which was like super campy. So it's like there is quite a grand tradition of camp in Batman
that we have lost in recent years.
Yeah, and
they're very dark and serious.
For one, welcome it back.
Yeah. Which is ironic given that the animated series, in my recollection, now it's been a while, but I recall it being quite dark.
Yeah.
And it's even to the point where only really that last kind of third act in the amusement park even remotely reminded me of the series, because it is so just like dark and dramatic in that way. But other than that, or even throughout that, yeah, we're getting some fun stuff, some fun, silly, colorful kind of aesthetics going on in this movie that have been missing, sadly, sorely missing.
The whole scene where she goes into the jail to get Cassandra. No, that was great. So I take back about the camp that I said. I was not looking for the
wrong word choice. We get you. So to that end, like, absolutely, I love the costume design on this. Yeah. I loved all of Harley Quinn's outfits. I loved all of Black Canary's outfits.
Those gold pants.
Like, I like how specific they were, that, the dress stylings were to each character, which is, sort of easy to do when you've got these sort of campy characters to work with. The weird velvet suits and like wife beater underneath thing that was happening. Like, I just was all of it. I loved seeing Chris Messina. I was like, oh my God, is that Chris Messina? Like,
yes, it is.
That was like, it was really fun to see him out of character. But yeah, so like, I liked all, the colorfulness of it and the campy aspects, because that's what I like about Batman. Like, I get that Batman is supposed to be dark and serious, but the way the villains are, it is really hard to pull that off.
Sure. And I don't even, as far as the villains go, I was a little disappointed. I didn't find them scary. I didn't find Ewan McGregor or Chris Messina scary in this, even after they cut off people's faces. I was still like,
Yeah, he was a very basic villain.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of meat going on with his character.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of hamming it up for the camera.
Sure.
And I always find that Ewan McGregor's American accents don't...
It was,
they like don't
come from
quite land, and then I just end up being very distracted by his accent, and part of me is like, you've been at this for... 20-some years? Like,
no, you've had
you're not getting any better.
Dialect coach, or somewhere there's a dialect coach that just jumped off a bridge. I can't anymore.
Is it wrong for me to say, I hope so, you're bad at your No.
Maybe not his specific one, but someone somewhere.
They carried themselves.
I mean, like, people can do accents or they can. Like, obviously they can be trained, but he clearly doesn't have an ear for it. Can we all just stop?
Yeah, Margot Robbie is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I did not know that she was Australian until I finally saw an interview with her. I think maybe after Suicide Squad came out, or one of her other movies before this one, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. You're not from Jersey? What?
Yeah.
She's great. I've never seen her give a bad performance, and she has quite...
She's my favorite actor right now.
I can see why.
Apparently you could go see her in 3 different movies this past weekend.
Yeah.
And they were all good.
Yeah. But I agree, Ewan McGregor didn't land for me at all.
And I'm a huge fan of that guy. Like, I love him, but like, it just didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. But then he wasn't. I don't know. So, and then we had a big discussion about the scene where he makes that woman strip, and I was.
That was so empty to me.
It was, and there was a quote from the Slate reviewer, which I didn't agree with everything Sam Adams from Slate said, but he kind of says, like, you forget about her in, like, while the scene is still happening. And I was like, aww, accurate. Like,
yeah, it was definitely, it was hard to watch, but yeah, it
was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable.
But it wasn't terrifying in the way that they meant it to be. Like, you're supposed to be really getting a window into how horrific this man's mind is, and it just felt like that's all it felt like it was. Like, I'm supposed to be horrified by this, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, and I felt like, when he's in, I don't know, some room in his house, or in the club, he's in a room, and the, like, wall painting behind him is, like, those women who are, like, mannequins, they have no hair, and they're, like, being strangled by...
I didn't even know
some, like, black tape or, so it's like this image of women being strangled all around him, and I was like, that kind of made your point. I didn't really need to have this, like, extra
He's obviously
stuff.
a creep, we know.
We get it. I didn't really buy his relationship with Black Canary. Like, I felt like they were telling us more than showing us that.
What were they even telling us?
Right. Okay, yes,
like, she obviously hates him and is only there. I thought she was, like, undercover or something to try and, like, watch over him and then get him eventually for...
I wasn't
sure
what
she's
she
not,
was doing.
right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so unclear, like, why she's... Like, we're told that she's in his pocket or wrapped around his finger, but we don't actually see that.
Yeah.
We're not sure why she doesn't leave. And we don't really get to see exactly how attached and possessive he is of her. We're just told that he is those things.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
It was very strange. I agree.
And also, I mean, I did really enjoy Black Canary's character. I liked a lot of the scenes. Or, like, I liked seeing her in a lot of the scenes that she was in, but I wasn't sure why they didn't... I guess they give a hint to her power at the beginning when she breaks the martini glass, but I was surprised that I felt it was a disservice to not show that she had powers sooner and that she had, like, this huge capability. I guess maybe it was more public and she didn't want to reveal herself as a superhero. But that was one thing.
They imply she's afraid to use her power because it got her mother killed. Renee the detective tells her, like, they have that conversation
I must have missed that. I remember the mom died, but I didn't remember the power playing a part into it.
Well, it made her a target, right?
Okay.
So
No, working with the cops made her a target.
But also her power, like, Anyway, I don't know. I agree with you. It's not fully fleshed out. So
let's talk about some good things.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a fun movie.
It is.
First fight scenes.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah.
Great.
Fight scenes were... And I did enjoy the final fight scene. I enjoyed seeing them all kick butt.
That scene with the bat in the police station where she, like, flips it up and around. Whoever that stunt double is was freaking amazing.
Yeah. I love all the acrobatics of Harley's character.
I kind of I went out of my body, I think, for a second when she threw the bat down the ground. It bounces up, knocks the guy out, comes back, she catches it. I was just like, yes, I'm done. I can die now. That's fine.
I'm with you. So me, I really like choreographed fight scenes. So I mean, that's for an action movie, that's what I care about. The fight scenes were amazing. So, I mean, and I read another review that was like, I didn't like the camera work. I was like, the camera didn't do anything, which is exactly what I want it to do.
Yeah, nothing. You want the shots to not be too quick. You want to see what's happening, the full body shot.
Yeah.
Like, stay wide-ish.
Let me take it all in.
Yeah. Let's, like, stand there and let me just watch the choreography that you've so carefully plotted out. There's nothing I hate more than when they try to overfilm a fight scene and it's like the camera's cutting and you get a weird angle and you're like, I just want to... It's like, I just want it to be like it's on stage. Like, let me just see the whole thing. So I totally loved it. Loved it. I had so much fun with the fight scenes. It's probably one of the, again, other than I always love the, what are the Chris Evans ones, the Captain America ones. I always think have good fight scenes too. So.
And I have one word for everybody. Hair tie.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That was awesome.
That was such a good beat.
It was.
That was such a thing that, like, every woman in the audience is like, oh, yeah, totally. You need a hair tie. And we're always offering each other hair. It was like such a moment of solidarity.
Do you have a hair tie? Do you have a hair tie? I forgot my hair tie.
I guess I would. Thanks. And then what? She's putting it on while she's kicking dudes' asses. Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So for your saying, like, the whole margarita conversation, I agree with you, was forced, but that hair tie scene was like, only a woman would have written that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So there are elements, which we'll get back to. I even have, like, I have it in my notes, like, the hair tie.
It was in all the reviews that I watched.
Oh, really?
Like, written by,
all the
women, the women-led reviews were like, the hair tie was great.
Yeah. It just felt really good.
The music was also good.
The soundtrack. I want to find a man, date him, make him dump me, so that I can listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Just so I can, like, just cry and listen to the soundtrack of this movie.
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
That's good. I don't have great commentary on that. My movie theater was so loud.
What do you mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah, the sound was, like, deafening.
Honestly, people were loud? Or
No, the movie itself, the volume in the theater was so loud. It was just, like, we couldn't even talk once the credits were rolling. It was so loud.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was, like, all of it just sort of felt like an assault, so I don't have a good way to, like, I'm glad you guys brought it up just because
no.
I got nothing on that one.
Definitely very woman-heavy soundtrack, which was fun, and also the music was just a good beat for all the scenes that they were in.
It just fits so perfectly.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say about the fight scene.
What? Tell me.
There's just a lot of ball shots.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciated every single one of them. I was like, it was like an over-the-top level of like how every woman just kicks a guy in the nuts.
And there are a couple of group shots, right?
Yeah, but I was just,
she gets a couple to,
like,
to the chest.
Yeah.
I just was like, it's a movie about a woman fighting men. Like, why wouldn't she go for the kill shot? Like, come on.
I mean, if he's trying to kill you, sorry. Like,
that's what we're taught to do.
No more gentility.
Yeah.
If this were a boxing match, I would try to keep it clean, but it ain't.
Yeah.
You're trying to kill me, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just was like, there was just a whole lot more than you normally see in a movie, and I was like, yes, kicking in the balls again.
How do we like all the, how do we feel about all the non-diegetic, like, scribbling across the screen, the profiles of who people are, what grievances are? Fussy or fun?
I thought they were fun. I thought the whole movie was definitely very Deadpool-esque in like the style. Yes. And I enjoyed the scribbling. I didn't mind the narration. Sometimes narration can be annoying, but I thought it fit in for the whole, I guess, sorry to steer us off your question, but related, I had sort of a similar question to what you guys thought of about the pacing, besides the fact that it was a little too long, but the pacing of we're current, we're flashback, we're current, we're flashback, because I thought there were maybe one too many switches from flashback to present, but I thought it definitely fit for, if we're going to be inside Harley Quinn's mind, I thought it definitely fit for that purpose, but also I can see how it can be a little tiring and not always like the best storytelling method. So I'm curious to see what you guys think on that note as well.
I thought it kind of mixed it up, made it interesting. And that's kind of how we, as she points out, it's kind of how we tell stories sometimes.
Yeah.
So like, so then I went into the police station and I was like looking for the girl. Did I not mention who the girl was? Okay, there was this girl.
Tangent, actual story.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, honestly, like, my mom is one of the, like, unintentionally funniest people on earth because, like, she can't tell a joke, and that's how she tells a joke. She gets close to the punchline, and she realizes, like, she screwed it up.
Oh, wait, I didn't
backtrack. Yeah. And it's actually, like, really hilarious when you see this performance in person, so, like... but yeah, I agree. I also liked sort of the opening montages, like with the frenetic, I don't normally like frenetic cuts. Like the quick cuts really worked for me. Just cause everything was so flashy and colorful and bright, and I enjoyed it here. I'm sorry. I got a laugh out of the voted for Bernie line.
I was wondering if we were talking about that. I was like, oh,
like Harley voted for Bernie. Okay.
So I thought it worked, and again, I agree. I thought her voiceover, I think that going into it knowing that like I'm not looking for a classic, high quality in some sense movie, but like I'm going to enjoy myself, and I enjoyed myself. Helped in the how I viewed the movie. Absolutely. I do want to say about the like moving through time thing, because like a couple of different things have come up lately about how to pull that off, and people's complaints about Little Women were that it was really, really hard to, the transition between past and present was so quote unquote seamless, like
in this movie.
No, in Little Women, that it was confusing and you couldn't figure out you were in the past.
I see what you mean. Okay.
That's utterly incorrect, but all right, we're not talking about that movie. I won't go into that. We won't go. But to your point.
And then there was like, somebody sent me this whole thing about, possibly even one of you, on flashback bangs.
I did. I said that, yeah.
So, the phenomenon of a woman having to have bangs just so you can tell that it's in the past, when like bangs weren't in style then, it didn't suit her face. Why did she have to have bangs? Or she's
younger or something.
Yeah.
It took her so long to grow them out. It must be far in the past.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I liked here was like that there's that opening scene where she's in the club versus later, and I was like, super dark lipstick, bright red lipstick, super dark lipstick, bright red. And I was thinking of like, how do you move me through time? And I was like, no, I got it from the lipstick choice. I'm good. That was enough. Like,
yeah. Are we fans of the Harlequin?
I don't know how to answer that. What do you think?
I'm a huge. Oh no, I love her.
I definitely enjoy. Yeah, I don't know if this is what you're thinking of, but yeah, I know I enjoyed, she was the best part of Suicide Squad.
Absolutely.
And then I really enjoyed this movie, but it is funny to think about, like, oh yeah, she is a murderer. She does,
sure.
She does kill people.
She feeds people to hyenas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, so longtime listeners of the podcast will know that Stacy and I are in a stark divide on our appetite for violence. So I think for me, no, I don't really like her. Obviously, given the nature of the movie, like one of the previews we saw was for Wonder Woman 1984, and I'm like, I'm so ready for this movie. Like, I couldn't be more ready for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't like villains. Like,
except Magneto.
Well, that's different. He's not really.
Okay, fair.
No. Yes, totally, except Magneto.
One of the reviewers I was watching for this movie after I saw it was sort of bringing up a point of, we have, a Joker movie that just recently came out within the last year, and now we have a Harley Quinn movie, and they're both very associated with each other and very similar in their violence and sort of craziness ways.
Okay.
And how his comment was that with the Joker movie, there was a lot more backlash to the violence that he does and what he perpetrates, especially for like the mental illness community, and how with Harley Quinn, there's a lot more positivity around her character, which he thought was, I can't remember if he used the word hypocritical, but he thought it was a weird dynamic that people seem to have. And I was thinking about it, and I think because, at least with this most recent Joker movie compared to Harley Quinn, that like, whether it's right or wrong can be debated, but I definitely think that for me, if I'm presented with a movie that is more comedic in tone, lighter in tone, that I am more willing to, unless it's like to a certain level, I'm more willing to forgive the violence, forgive the action, and like enjoy the characters even if they're not necessarily good people. Whereas like Joker was obviously meaning to be a serious movie with actual attempted commentary. And that's why, at least to me, that was the divide of like, I guess whether it's right or wrong, yeah, it can be debated, but that's why I have that divide around these two characters.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, it felt like, not to take anything away from Kathy Ann's contribution here, but I mean, it felt very much like a Guy Ritchie movie. I can see like the guys from Lock, Stock or Snatch or whoever kind of coming in from the side, like all the, like you mentioned, the non-diegetic stuff, the, just comedic violence.
Yeah, and I enjoyed The Gentleman, which is like the more, comedic violence versus like serious.
It has nothing to do with gender. It's just the tone.
I mean, it doesn't, but so I will just say for the one difference between having a woman at the helm, once again, sort of circling back to what happened with Hustlers, you get very beautiful women in very tight clothes that are not over-sexualized by having a female director. Like, you just take one giant step away from the male gaze, which is fabulous.
It was so stark in comparison to Suicide Squad.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Where she's, Harley Quinn is like about as erotic as she can be in almost every frame.
Yeah.
When like it's her butt and like posing and
changing clothes. Yeah.
Like, that was another great line.
Licking the jail cell bar. Like in this movie, she's just a person, and she's grimy, and she's getting over something, and she's not her sexiest.
But she's still cute with her outfits.
Oh, she looks great.
Yeah,
she looks great, but she looks great for herself.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I did like the line, like, when did she have time for a shoe change?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was thinking it.
Oh, yeah, yes, the skating behind the car. Oh, that was
awesome. It was so fun.
Yeah.
It's so, I totally agree with you. Like, and that is really one of the big lines of difference now that you're bringing up, I think, between the sort of Marvel style and whatever different things have been happening around the DC universe type stuff is that Marvel makes it lighthearted enough and it keeps it, and there's no gore. And this was relatively gory, actually.
This is the first rated R movie, I think.
Yeah, because Suicide Squad was PG-13.
Well, I think that either Marvel or DC have done. I think Logan is the only other, and that was 20th Century Fox at the time.
Right.
The only other R-rated comic movie so far.
Right.
Yeah, I guess, it's a good point.
Was Deadpool R, though?
Deadpool was R. But Deadpool
Yeah.
also is technically not...
20th Century Fox.
Yeah, well, yeah, technically not...
erstwhile 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, it's not Marvel... Technically.
Right.
So, and Marvel keeps it to a sort of family-friendly, cartoonish level violence, which I have actually a huge problem with at the PG-13 level, but not at the R level, because I don't think you should normalize violence for kids. Like, I don't...
Sure.
I think making family-friendly violence is in and of itself...
kind of messed up.
Yeah. So here, I agree with you that keeping it cartoonish does sort of... That's my word for it.
No, I think that's fine.
Comic, you're right, is probably a better description. Like, does make you keep a little bit of a distance. But I also think, like, it's not wrong to point out that it does sort of ask you to feel that women getting their own back on men is somehow less villainous.
Wait, say that again? Sorry.
So women beating men up for who done them wrong or whatever...
is, like, not as taken seriously as...
Well, it's
not as vilifiable.
Right. They're not as big a villain.
Oh,
we don't hate them as much. We have more sympathy for them.
Oh, okay. I see.
Either if it's because it's self-defense, self-preservation.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, righting a wrong.
So there is an element of a double standard there towards Joker, I think.
Possibly. I guess how it comes out in this film is there is this consistent. I think you brought it up earlier, Lexy, about the each of the Birds of Prey's relationships to men or with men. Like each of them has this. They each have a man in their life who is oppressing somehow.
Yeah, that they need to break away from.
Right, and emancipate themselves from.
Mm-hmm.
And so
title drop.
Yeah. And so utilizing violence to do that.
Do they? She got dumped.
Right, but she is emancipating herself from her codependence on him.
Well, that she's using violence to show that she is a force to be reckoned with, and that, like, people also should be scared of her like they were of the Joker, because she's very much as capable, or she's growing to be, in this movie, she's growing to be capable as a villain on her own without the Joker.
Right, I agree, but yes, and well said. My point is, okay, like with, you know, from just taking this movie from its face value, she does have somewhat of a codependent relationship, but she talks about, like, a Harley Quinn lives to serve and she needs a man, and now she doesn't want to be a man to be her master, she wants to be her own master. But I'm like, so that's not really on the Joker for her codependency issues. So
well, she doesn't attack the Joker, she's attacking Black Mask,
right,
or defending herself
Fair
from
enough.
Black Mask.
But like, I mean, there could have been janitors in that chemical thing. Night.
Yeah, I mean, was blowing up the factory a great idea? No.
Someone could have been hurt.
Yeah, sure.
Probably was. Like, but yes, I agree. They are giving you this, like, female emancipation story as the justification for their violence. I mean, and take the detective, like picking that apart, though, it's like, you know, one man screwed me over on the job, or maybe many men, because it's the police force and it's a misogynistic agency, so I'm just gonna go rogue. This seems like a very extreme reaction. I don't know.
Can't get anything done in the system, you gotta go outside the system.
Like what she says in the movie, where it's like all the cops start actually doing stuff once they decide to go rogue.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess is your point, like, that, like, should we feel, or should we condone it because it's for this, like, great purpose of emancipation? Your stance is no. Is that what I'm getting?
I'm not sure what my stance is. That's a good question. Like, I think that we are sort of meant to give them a free pass, and it's complicated, right? So to bring it to somewhat of a very famous but real life story, Lorena Bobbitt, right? Famously, like, hacked off her husband's member, threw it in a field, and was the butt of many a joke for a long time. But it turned out he would basically, like, he was a serial abuser, and he had, like, maritally raped her for years, and at some point she just had enough. Mm-hmm. And does that justify what she did? Kind of, maybe. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's
not clean, but I would say yes.
It's not clean, and I think that the problem
untidy.
That was clean cut right through. There are no bones in there.
Yeah, every situation is different.
I mean, yeah, I don't feel strongly either way about. I think villains are fun,
right?
I'm not saying we're supposed to think that they are, great and justified in everything they do.
Yeah,
but I think it was great that this movie just was completely woman driven. It was for women by women.
Yeah,
it was just it felt so good to watch a movie from a woman's point of view. It was a violent comic book movie, R-rated, but from a woman's point of view. As I walked out of the theater, another woman and I just smiled at each other when we exited. We were all just yes, this was for us. Mm-hmm. And it was I don't know. I think we need to that's what I've been focused on.
Okay.
Just how great that is.
No yucky love stuff either.
No yucky love
for
stuff.
For a whole movie about women, no one gets a guy. They do get a very lovely hyena, but no.
Yeah, sure. With Bruce.
Yeah.
After Bruce Wayne.
Oh, is that what it...
Yes.
I didn't even think about that.
Quote after that hunky Wayne guy.
Oh, that's right. She does say that.
Yeah.
She does say that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, she does say that. That's right.
Awesome.
I totally thought it was Bruce Willis until that line.
Oh, funny.
She's like, after that hunky, I was like, oh, Bruce Willis. Wayne guy. I'm like, oh, Batman.
But yeah, I just want to give... I think I might be officially moving over from the MCU faction to the DCEU faction just based on Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn.
Well, so that's the interesting thing. And I came out of the movie saying that, I have no interest in seeing the male ones. Mm. And not because I'm a woman. I mean, no, partially because I can't disclaim all knowledge of it. But I was like, the male ones I saw were crud, and I'm just not a big fan of Batman. I'm like, they're doing much better with the female.
They are.
Led
and they're doubling down.
And directed, right?
Directed by female. So Patty Jenkins and now Kathy Yan, who is the first Asian American female director of a comic book movie.
Yeah.
The second female comic book movie director. Marvel's had how many? None.
Right. And like sort of the male trajectory, they plucked her out of quote unquote obscurity, right? Her first couple movies were deep indie films, and they gave her a shot at something bigger budget, which almost never happens for women, but happens all the time for men.
Because Margot Robbie was producing and insisted on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I hear
power,
even a huge chunk of the crew as well were women. So
you mean the
actual film crew.
Film crew. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm with you. And there's just, it is different when you get to tell your own story.
It is different. I think Renee Montoya might be the first, openly out gay, LGBT character that I've seen in a comic book movie now. Marvel wanted credit for that one guy and that one scene with that one line that didn't have a name. They're like, look, we have a gay person. No, you don't get credit for that. Sorry, he had one line. Which is an actual character with she has an X, and we know.
Are you talking about the actress or the character?
The character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, actually, it's kind of funny that you say that because the DC Universe TV shows that are on CW are absolutely rife with queer characters. They have not shied away from that at all.
Good for them.
Yeah, but and boy, was this movie diverse.
Yes.
Like, so, obviously Harley Quinn is white and Black Mask and his little henchman was white, but, like, just a lot of, I mean, Chinese mafia is in there.
Yeah.
Italian mafia is in there.
Italian, yeah.
Could live without that. You Black Canary, Renee Montague, Cassandra Cain.
Yeah.
Is an Asian American actress. Like, it was, like, so far beyond tokenism. And it just felt so...
Felt natural.
Yeah, and it was like, this takes place in Chicago, but at least they did they tried to cover up the fact that it was Chicago way better than they have before.
Oh, sure. I mean, that skyline looked specifically Gotham. Like, every time you saw the skyline,
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that's not Toronto. That's Gotham City.
Yeah. So, and you're like, it should be a big, diverse city. Like, it's based on New York. Like,
yeah.
You should, yeah.
The cop who sells out the Renee Montoya is black.
Right. And then but when you just, like, look around the police station in that scene, too, it's like, it just not...
felt like a city.
Yeah, it did. Which I really appreciated.
I could be wrong in the way I missaw it, but there was the part where Harley Quinn was talking and she had what are they called? The slot machine thing going with, I think, like, she was like, and then I did this guy, and like, and then a woman appears at the very, she doesn't say woman, but a woman appeared at the very end, and I was like, oh, is this a way of, like, declaring that she's bi or something like that?
Absolutely, I took it that way.
Yeah, and I guess I forgot to look it up afterwards, but I wasn't sure if that was a comic book thing, or if that was just this movie thing for the Harley Quinn character.
It might be canon.
I'm not sure the canon on Harley Quinn, and I think there's been a lot of change, too, in the last several years, for sure.
Yeah, several editions. I have a vague memory of, dating a woman when I was dating, but yeah, she's just a great character. She's a great character. Margot Robbie just explodes, like, out of her, I feel like, or into her or something. She saved Suicide Squad. That movie was garbage, and yet she was incredible the entire time. Enough to make a sequel just based on her and a few other people. It's just, so well done. Margot Robbie should be very proud of herself.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before about Wonder Woman, and it seems to be a little bit more, it seems to be true as well about Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn. Like, there seems to be, like, a higher level of dedication from the women in this than there is anywhere else. Like,
interesting.
There's like a lot of phoning it in from, like, big actors, like, okay, well, I have to do this part. Like, they don't seem to commit to it as much as invest in it.
Generally.
Right?
I see. Yeah.
Like except like guys like Ryan Reynolds,
Oh
yeah, Ryan Reynolds is
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Most of them are just like, okay, I'm putting on the mask.
I'm doing the thing. It's fine. It's a job.
Putting on the cape.
Whereas, like, Gal Gadot is just Wonder Woman all the time. Like, she tweets as Wonder Woman. You can just tell, like, she just freaking loves getting to be Wonder Woman and, like, whips it out whenever she possibly can, which you're like, is really cool. Like, she loves that she's Wonder Woman.
I think Chris Evans also loves being Captain America, but I agree that Margot...
Really?
Oh.
I feel the opposite.
Oh.
I feel like he's trying to distance himself from that as far as he possibly can, and he's like, no, I'm actually a serious actor. Like, that's, well, different interpretations.
It's still a valid point, though, that the two of them, Gal Gadot and Margot Robbie, they do seem very... They love these characters. They love portraying these characters. And they want them to be portrayed, not respectfully, but at least with some weight.
With dignity.
And dignity. Thank you. Yeah.
And multidimensionality.
Complexity.
Mm-hmm. Complexity. I mean, that could be the issue, too. Like, they are allowed to bring a level of complexity to the roles.
Mm-hmm. And they're real people. They're not just pinups.
Yeah.
They lust over a delicious hangover egg sandwich.
Oh, that was very Guy Ritchie, that whole sandwich thing. But was delightful. Yes, the most amount of lust in this entire movie
was towards the sandwich.
True love was the sandwich.
And the only tears we get from Harley Quinn the entire time are over her dropped sandwich. And I felt it. I
did too.
Every bit of that loss.
I did. The slow-mo of the like pieces coming down.
Yeah, hitting the pavement.
Oh, yeah, gutting.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutting.
All right, so then tying it all together, I guess even give your social impact score. I think we don't know that much about box office at this point. I was going to bring that up.
The headlines that I had seen were saying that it wasn't doing as well as they expected, but I could be wrong.
Kidding.
I'm a little surprised. If that's the truth, I'm a little surprised.
I find that shocking.
Yeah, I mean this is the opening weekend, so I don't know if we even.
Yeah, let's look it up.
So I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter saying it earning a quote tepid $33.3 million. Lowest domestic launches in modern times for a studio superhero pick.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, here's what I think. I said this about Wonder Woman, I was right. I'll say it about this, and we'll see if I'll be right again. So everybody was like, oh, but Wonder Woman didn't make all the money that, the male superhero ones. Well, and now we won't have the whole, they won't take a chance on it again. And I was like, you wait. I bet it has legs. I bet it's not going to be that it had this huge opening weekend, but I bet it has more staying power than a lot of the other ones. And I was right about that. And in the end, its cume was pretty high.
Okay.
I
could see women leaving the theater and telling their girlfriends to go see it.
It has an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, right now, from like more or less audience and critics have pretty much agreed. Like it's gotten good reviews. I bet it gets good word of mouth because it is a really fun action movie. Like, so I'm gonna say, yeah, maybe opening weekend wasn't. I mean, it's also the weekend after the Super Bowl, but
What?
I mean, we got Valentine's Day coming up.
Fellas.
This seems, well, I mean, if you think about it, it's a little bit of a no-brainer because, like, for stereotypical man, he gets to see an action movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she gets to see a movie with women in it.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect date movie.
What time of year did Wonder Woman come out? Was it also, like, around this time in February?
I don't know. So, all right. So give your social impact score and tell me if there's a Birds of Prey sequel, are you ready to see it?
Yeah, I would go see it.
So
I think
social impact score.
Social impact score, I would say, I think this is my go-to answer. 7.
Okay.
It's like it'll depend on box office reach and whether it has legs or not. But yeah, I thought it was overly enjoyable and very fun and good for all the reasons that we discussed.
Okay.
But not like out of the park amazing.
Sure. Yeah, I'm giving it a 6. I feel like you said, with all the caveats, if it does well, if it's followed up by a Gotham City Sirens with, Poison Ivy and Catwoman and all that, this could, it could turn the trajectory of comic book movies. More females at the helm, more females in front of the camera, as well as behind the camera. This, we'll see a very different DCU after this.
Yeah. All right, I guess I'll give the lowest, which is just a 5, just because I think it's lucky enough to be riding a lot of good trends that are going in that direction as well. Does it add to it? Absolutely. But it's not heavy on the social messaging. It is a very fun film, but it's like a B-movie fun film, and it's not great art. But I will say, I was at a party last night, and somebody made the comment like, "Man, there were just like a lot of good movies that came out this year," and I immediately said, yeah, things have changed. All kinds of different people are getting to make movies.
Amen.
That we're not allowed to make movies before, and it shows.
Definitely. I would totally agree with that, even if they're not being recognized at the Oscars.
Yes. Well, that's a whole separate issue, but yeah.
We're talking about...
For another time.
We're talking about 70% of the population has been now allowed to make movies.
Right.
That wasn't allowed before.
Right.
Definitely.
That's a lot of human capital.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's just, it really is it makes a difference. It makes for a higher quality movie in a lot of ways to let women tell their own stories. To that end, recommendations for the week?
I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel that I really like. Her name is Michelle Khare. Her last name is Khare.
Okay.
And going on with the superhero theme, she does a lot of different physical challenges. I think like a year or so ago, she did a series that was, I trained like so-and-so. And so she trained like Spider-Man. She trained like Arya from Game of Thrones. She trained
interesting.
I think she trained like the Punisher when the Punisher was coming out. So, and I know one of, because I follow her on a lot of things, I know one of her goals is to eventually be on like an action TV show or be a superhero or something. I think she's one of the more underrated channels on YouTube and puts out like really, really good content. She's also mixed race Indian American, which is good push for other forms of representation besides being a woman. So I'm always telling people I think she should be watched more, so that's my recommendation.
Excellent. I am given, this is a little dangerous, I'm not completely done. So I, at long last, have picked up She Said by Jodie Cantor and Megan Twohey, and the story of the two of them.
Yeah. I need to finish that.
Writing how they made the article that broke about Harvey Weinstein. And you have to read it or listen to it on audiobook, because if you at all have any love for investigative journalism, it is so fascinating to get this sort of behind the scenes look at what it actually takes and the steps that were involved to break a huge story like this. It's just so fascinating. I'm having such a fun time reading it. And we hope that you had a very fun time listening to this podcast and all our Movies That Matter episodes. You know how to find us. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Movies Matter Pod. You can reach out individually to Stacy
at Stacy Aaron Moore on Twitter and Instagram.
If you want to email, our address is moviesmatterpod@gmail.com. We have some fun things on the horizon that hopefully we'll be able to tell you about soon. And remember, movies matter.
And so do you.
I'll see you next time.